places, it was still, a factor in people's lives. And was coming, by the time I was born, it was coming into a different era for me, because I grew up in California all my life, and so my experiences in California were that I was able, we went places, amusement parks and restaurants and other places, Catalina Island,
like places that used to be whites only.
It could have been. I mean, California did have that. I might have been farther back than my time, but so my parents grew up in segregated South, and by the time I was born in California, that stuff was still going on in the South. So yeah, I guess coming into as I was growing up, I went to school with every race. My neighbors were white and Asian and Hispanic and black. Growing up in California, it was integrated. It was an integrated neighborhood.
And you also experienced life in other states, correct?
Yes, but being in a multicultural community is my first experience, in California, and then we moved to Chicago sometime after that, and it was the south side of Chicago, so it was predominantly black and Hispanic at the time. Then back to California, which by then it was kind of full. I mean, there still was segregated high schools, only because I think of the neighborhoods and demographic at the time, but there were still schools in California that had a good population of black, Hispanic, white, Asian and stuff. So it was just depending on what part of California you lived in.
So did you experience any racism or colorism when you were growing up?
Interesting. No racism that I can really speak of growing up in California. And I wasn't aware of racism and colorism when I was young. But then family dynamics entered the picture, and then I was introduced to colorism within my own family.
Like your lighter skinned cousins were being discriminatory against you?
No. I mean, I knew that I don't ever remember saying, somebody's lighter than me or whatever. I just never had that concept. But things changed when I became like a preteen, and like I said, family dynamics came into play, and that's when I was introduced to somebody's making references to skin color, hair texture, that kind of thing, and it became it was overwhelming. After a while, it was just, I never looked at my sibling and said, compared our arm color or anything like that. It was never a thing until it became a thing, until it was introduced, to me as a younger child, and I just never understood that concept. And it wasn't my problem, but it opened up a whole new kind of world to me that really it was very uncomfortable. I could say other words, but it was.
Where do you think the colorism stems from?
It comes from. I mean, if you really want to go back far, it comes from things that happened during enslavement, and where the people in charge could cause a division between people that were darker and people that were lighter. So if you were lighter, you were preferred, and you had jobs that would give you access to the inside of, let's say, the big house, if you will. And then if you were darker skinned, you would do jobs out in the field or more manual labor. And so over time, it just developed into a thing. And then throw in the media and people that don't feel good about themselves, perpetuating that I don't know if it's necessarily a stigma per se, but that just the ideal of one race or one a person within the same race, color is different. I mean, there were terms called octoroon, or these I think I don't know if that was something that was established in, say, a place like Louisiana or something, but like if you like my skin color but had it wavy hair, like I have, you're a certain particular thing. If you're the shade lighter and you're considered like excuse me, 1/8 black or other, that kind of thing. So I don't really have I'm not really up on the statistics or the terminology, but I know that in my studies I was introduced to that. And so I think it's people that don't feel good about their skin, and so they create a division. Well, so and so is light skinned and they have straight hair, but you're brown skinned and you have curly hair, and that it's like nobody really it's just it at the end of the day, your skin color doesn't make you better just by virtue of it being lighter or darker. I mean, if you really want to think about it, whose skin's superior? Whose skin holds up in the heat and in the sun, right? So if you want to go, that down deep, you could, make those references. But I just think it creates division. And like I said, at the end of the day, everybody for the most part, there's no differences. If you don't take care of yourself, if you don't have self-love, then it'll be difficult for you to kind of navigate through, because you'll be comparing yourself, and then if you have children, it's not healthy for them. So that's, I don't know if
do you think colorism has gotten better over the years? Like, do you think there's less people experiencing it?
I don't know, because I think it depends on where the person is living. I mean, what part of the country they're in. Like if it's for our side, I think it's improved. Like if you look at the say the modeling industry, there is differences, and there's improvement, I would say. But so I think it has in some places. Others, I think there's still room for improvement.
Yeah. Well, thank you for talking to me today, Mama. You have some very wonderful insights. You're very wise. I appreciate you.
You're welcome.